Okay, so I want to talk about living in an apartment as a Christian in these end times. And is anybody else finding this like incredibly more difficult lately? It seems like since 2020, I cannot catch a break from having at least one crazy neighbor. And when you're in an apartment, you share walls. So it really can have a profound impact on you. Before 2020, I've been renting apartments now for 25 years, and I've lived in many different apartment complexes, in two different states. I'm in North Carolina from Florida, and it's like since 2020, I cannot catch a break from bad neighbors. And I definitely believe it's because it's demonic and it's because we're living in the end times that it's not normal. And you might think, well, you're the common denominator. No, this is an actual legit problem. One of the neighbors caused two people to have to move. It was a guy who was staking out the building with or our apartments. We shared walls with him, with cigarette smoke. You can't live like that with an apartment stunk out with cigarette smoke. It makes you sick. If you don't smoke, it makes you sick. So before 2020, I only had one bad neighbor that I can remember. Now, since 2020 for me, it was like the best of times and the worst of times because of the fact that I was one of the people laid off during the pandemic, and all of a sudden, the government was giving me more money than I had ever seen in my life. It was like a paid vacation where I was getting way more money than I earned. I mean, I think it was like three or four times more. I will be honest, that my adult life, I really haven't had money, so I didn't do a very good job saving it, which, I mean, I saved some, but anyhow, I don't know why I just threw that in there. So anyways, but it was also the worst of times because January 2020, I got the proverbial neighbors from hell. And it was a couple, a boy and a girl, who were cohabitating. They were 19 years old, and it was just blasting music, just a whole thing, like blasting music all night they got up around 2, so from 2 p.m. until about 7 a.m., blasting music. Throwing things, stomping, just the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was just awful. They would, let their dog out on the balcony to use the bathroom in the morning instead of like taking it out and walking it. So then and the the apartment complex couldn't throw them out either because it was during the pandemic. But I got, luckily I got a month worth of free rent and I got another apartment. So I took them up on that offer. And there was this lovely Christian neighbor. And I was so happy to have her. She was a good Christian sister. But she worked at night, and the 3 nights she was off, she would, lo and behold, stink out the apartment horrendously with marijuana, and it stunk to high heaven. It smells like a skunk. So that's why, some marijuana is called skunk. Because it does, it smells like a skunk, and she was skunk. There's no way to sleep through that. I've never had that happen before. And, so on top of that, I believe she was trying to cover it up by frying garlic. So it would be this like ungodly stink bomb of marijuana and garlic all night. And me and this other woman who is also a good Christian, were just stunk out, but we kind of just bore with it. And then we got this disabled guy moved in also between us, and he stunk out the apartments with cigarettes. We could not deal with that, so we ended up both having to move out. We were forced out. Then I got I moved into another apartment complex, a more expensive one, and I thought the soundproofing would be a lot better. So I took a chance at being a downstairs neighbor. What a dumb idea. I ended up getting a drug dealer living above me, and this guy, I think his mommy was paying his rent, and he was making drugs in his apartment above me. And this is a total nightmare. And it smelled all the time like chemicals. Like, it would start smelling around like 1 a.m. like chemicals. And he didn't really work, so it was just like constant noise at night. I mean, it's just demonic stuff. So I ended up getting a break with this really super intelligent, like, Indian guy that lived above me, but he only lasted 2 months. And lo and behold, an elderly woman moved in, and I thought she would be awesome. I'm thinking, well, this is, a lady in her 70s. And lo and behold, she's, like, demonically possessed. She's a demon-possessed woman from New York, extremely loud. I think she sees me alone in here. I am married and my husband lives in this apartment complex. We live in 2 separate apartments. It's just kind of like how it worked out. We haven't been married very long, so that could change. But for right now, it just is it's just been kind of how it worked out for us. And so I think she definitely is mad at the world. She is an angry old lady. And so at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., she's like dropping things. She's definitely doing it on purpose. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Making huge crashing noises. And other people are getting tired of it too. It's just been since 2020. It's been really challenging with neighbors. And I know this has to be demonic. It's not normal. This is not normal. And you might say, well, you're the common denominator, but all of these are legit problems. So no, I mean, I've been renting for 25 years and I haven't had any problems since before 2020. I mean, I had one time there was a 19-year-old girl who would be blasting music all night, but other than that, I've lived in a ton of different apartments. I love moving, and it's just been since 2020. It's just really strange. And I'm really beginning to think that if you're a Christian, you have to be really careful if you're going to live in apartments. Don't ever live underneath somebody, because your neighbors are, I've adopted this mantra. You only have good neighbors until that day comes that you don't. Until that day comes when they decide they want to move out, you get somebody else, you never know who you're going to get. Don't live underneath anybody. I actually wouldn't even live above anybody either. Try and get 1-story apartments. I really would try and rent a house. Nowadays, like, apartments are so expensive to rent that you can rent a small house for the same price or cheaper. Anyways, God bless you guys. That's my little rant on this topic. It's a trial. But, soon everything works together for our good, for those who love Christ, and for God's glory. And soon all of this will be over, We don't really need to magnify our problems. We should always magnify Christ. Even though this is a pretty serious problem, since this is your home. All right.